So I've heard players say, including myself, I feared Mike. I've heard players in your generation say they feared Kobe. I've never really heard any players say they fear LeBron.
And then like the generation, they talk so much shit about the game today.
Yeah.
And it makes you go back and watch the game back then. And it makes you not even want to appreciate it no more like I did when I was a kid. Like, it's like.
No one ever feared him. Those 3 words from Shaquille O'Neal cut through every accolade LeBron James has piled up. Every stat line, every trophy, every broken record. And when you understand why a 4-time champion who shared locker rooms with both LeBron and Kobe continues repeating that point year after year, the entire GOAT debate suddenly shifts. This isn't some disgruntled veteran taking cheap shots from the outside. It's a Hall of Famer with first-hand experience insisting on a truth the mainstream continues to gloss over. And the reason he keeps saying it goes far deeper than most fans realize.
So I've heard players say, including myself, I feared Mike. I've heard players in your generation say they feared Kobe. I've never really heard any players say they fear LeBron.
The moment that shifted the entire conversation unfolded on Shaq's podcast in March 2024, with former teammate Mario Chalmers sitting right beside him. What Shaq said that day sent LeBron's fan base into a frenzy. Throughout his own career, Shaq explained, players openly confessed they feared Michael Jordan, and the generation that followed said the exact same thing about Kobe Bryant. But LeBron, he said, existed in a different category, because in all his years around the league, Shaq had never heard a single player admit they were afraid of LeBron on the court. LeBron saw the comments and reacted in the way he usually does, firing back on Instagram, pointing out that his streak of consecutive double-digit scoring games lasted longer than Shaq's entire career. It's a staggering statistic, and nobody can deny how impressive it is. But the issue is simple. It had nothing to do with the point Shaq was actually making.
I didn't think players really feared LeBron like they did Jordan.
I never heard anybody say it.
And it's not that you shouldn't fear Bron. I just think at the end of the day, Bron has been through so much that he wanted to be liked. So it was kind of like,
he is a nice guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna do things now where like people like me, people respect.
Those things weren't what Shaq was talking about, and neither were longevity, statistics, or anything you could stack on a spreadsheet. He was pointing to that feeling opponents carried in the pit of their stomach when they knew Jordan was coming. That restless night before having to guard Kobe. That psychological pressure that separated the truly great from everyone else. None of it can be measured, recorded, or compared on any stat sheet ever created. Chalmers backed Shaq completely, adding something even more revealing from his own experience. He played next to LeBron during those Miami title runs. He sat with him in the locker room, listened in the huddles, watched the film sessions, and saw how the dynamics truly worked. And his conclusion was blunt, and it cut deep. LeBron faced so much scrutiny and so many public attacks that over time he shifted. Being liked eventually meant more to him than being feared. He wanted respect, approval, and the image of being the good guy. Jordan and Kobe functioned on a completely different wavelength. Whether anyone liked them off the court didn't factor into anything. Whether people thought they were nice, generous, or admirable didn't matter. Their priority was simple: make opponents terrified to step on the same floor. Jordan wanted players staring at the ceiling the night before, dreading the moment they'd line up against him. Kobe aimed to break you mentally before the ball ever left the referee's hand. LeBron aimed for admiration instead, and in the arena where basketball greatness is measured. That difference matters far more than most fans want to admit.
I think the greatest player is Michael Jordan. LeBron is about to do something that hasn't been done in a long time, but for me, it's always Dr. J and Michael Jordan, Magic and those guys.
Shaq's comments in 2024 weren't the beginning of any of this, and most fans don't realize it. He's been making versions of the same point for more than a decade. When his memoir Shaq Uncut dropped in 2011, what he wrote about his season playing alongside LeBron in Cleveland was flat out damning. He described a franchise walking on eggshells around its superstar. Mike Brown, he said, was a good man and a capable coach, but someone who lived in constant fear because criticizing LeBron about anything was essentially forbidden. Cleveland's front office was so terrified of losing LeBron that they allowed him to operate under a completely different set of rules than the rest of the team, and that mentality made building a title-level culture nearly impossible. One example from the book still sticks with anyone who read it. During a film session, the team watched a clip where LeBron failed to get back on defense after a missed shot, and Mike Brown didn't say a single word about it. Not even a comment. The very next clip showed Mo Williams making the exact same mistake, and suddenly Brown was all over him, demanding better effort. Delonte West called it out immediately, saying accountability had to apply to everyone, not just selected players. But nothing changed, because LeBron was untouchable, and the double standard stayed in place. Now, imagine Phil Jackson letting Michael Jordan skip a defensive assignment without calling him out in front of the room. Imagine Kobe getting that kind of free pass from any coach he ever played for. Jackson would have benched either of them on the spot because that's how a championship culture protects itself. LeBron, though, played by a different set of rules, and according to Shaq, that shadow followed him throughout his entire career. The 2011 finals still bothers Shaq based on what he wrote. Miami was facing Dallas, the ball whipped around the perimeter, and it found LeBron wide open. The kind of look he should knock down without thinking. But instead of taking the shot, LeBron immediately swung it over to Mario Chalmers. Shaq described his reaction in one word: confusion. Taking that shot is what being the guy requires. Wanting that moment is what separates great players from truly legendary ones. But LeBron shifted the responsibility to someone else. That moment connects directly to something Shaq told Dan Patrick in 2015. Patrick asked him point blank to pick between Kobe and LeBron in their primes, and he didn't want any diplomatic answer. Shaq didn't hesitate for even a second. He chose Kobe, saying it came down to one thing. Kobe had killer instinct, and that alone settled the argument for him.
What about Kobe and LeBron in their prime?
Well, I'll play with both of them, and Kobe has that killer instinct, and I'll probably have to go with Kobe.
At an EPN event in Hong Kong later that same year, Shaq expanded on why he viewed LeBron differently. Young LeBron, he said, reminded him far more of Magic Johnson than Michael Jordan. Even though LeBron had the physical tools to dominate like Jordan, his mentality tilted toward Magic's approach, prioritizing passing, facilitating, and involving everyone else over hunting his own shot. Magic Johnson is undeniably one of the 5 greatest players the sport has ever produced, but no one seriously places him in the GOAT debate beside Jordan. That comparison alone shows exactly where Shaq believes LeBron fits in the all-time hierarchy. Killer instinct keeps resurfacing in these discussions because it isn't just some buzz phrase analysts use to sound insightful. It's the trait that made Jordan demand the ball when everything was on the line, even if he'd been cold all night. It's the same instinct that pushed Kobe to explode for 81 points on an ordinary Tuesday, simply because losing was something he refused to tolerate.
Our game is supposed to be more structured. Well, this game we're watching now, I don't know what we're watching now.
They say, yeah, I said the 90s and 80s was way harder than this. You guys, this is like kind of soft.
That mentality reveals itself in the moments when average players tighten up. And according to people who were actually in the room or on the floor, LeBron has tightened up in those situations more than once. When LeBron publicly criticized the NBA's compressed schedule in 2021 after a wave of injuries hit the league, Shaq didn't hold back. He pushed back hard, pointing out that 82 games had always been the standard. Shaq played full seasons. Jordan played full seasons, Jerry West did it, Kareem did it, Magic and Bird did it. Generation after generation of legends showed up without voicing a single complaint. Meanwhile, modern stars earning $30, $40, even $50 million a year were calling for fewer games, and Shaq had no patience for that argument.
If you're making $30 million, 80 games is good enough.
All right, 2 more things real quick. Go ahead.
So you want me to pay you $30 million to play 30 games? Hell no.
Right.
No. 80 games is fine, because I did it, Jerry West did it, Kareem did it, Magic did it, Bird did it, Bernard King, like all the great legends before us did it.
Couldn't believe that an NBA player could make $1 million. And now these guys are so lucky and blessed, and they can't play basketball 3 or 4 days a week. And I know they hide behind all the analytical bullshit from their agents and people like that. What they're really trying to do is extend their career. The way the money's been and going, depending on who you are, you're going to be able to make another $50, $70, $100 million and probably more going forward if you can extend your career 2 or 3 years.
The analytical arguments that get pushed by agents are really just camouflage. They make it sound like the conversation is about science, workload, or injury prevention, when the truth is simple. Players want to stretch their careers long enough to secure another massive payday. With salaries now reaching levels nobody imagined, an extra 2 or 3 years can mean hundreds of millions more in earnings, sometimes close to $500 million. And that has real weight in the GOAT debate. LeBron's longevity numbers are extraordinary, and being the all-time leading scorer is an achievement that won't be dismissed. But those numbers were built in an era where hand-checking was outlawed. Physical contact was heavily restricted, and hard fouls led to ejections and suspensions. Jordan put up his stats while the bad boy Pistons tried to break him physically every single night. Kobe dominated during a time when defenses were still allowed to body you in ways that would get players tossed immediately today. The box score output might look similar, but the environments were nowhere close to the same. Whenever Shaq gets accused of hating on the modern generation, he gives the same answer. How could he hate on players whose level he himself once reached? What he's doing isn't criticism. It's upholding the standards he believes define greatness. And he refuses to lower those standards just because today, S-stars have stronger PR machines and polished social media narratives backing them.
Like, right now, you get a flagrant foul, you get fined, suspended, like, guys ain't even fouling hard no more. Back before I played, it was crazy, but when I played, it was crazy. But even before, like the 80s going to 90s, it was probably more physical then. But, people get mad. It's just a product of what I see. I've seen what greatness is. Been there, played with them. I don't see that all the time over here. It never happens. You call it hate if you want. But even with the word hate, like these kids that like to throw that word around. If you ain't great and I'm great, how the fuck can I hate on you? That don't make no.
What makes all of this hit even harder is that Shaq isn't the only one saying it. Charles Barkley has talked openly about the climate surrounding LeBron, explaining that if you don't call LeBron the greatest player ever, his supporters treat it like a crime. In their eyes, disagreeing isn't an opinion. It's treason. There's no room for nuance, no room for debate. Scottie Pippen added even more fuel by saying LeBron simply isn't what Michael was as a player, and that he isn't what Kobe was either. Pippen pointed directly at Jordan's ability to seize control of a game, to demand the final shot, to break an opponent's will, and to strike real fear in the players guarding him. According to Pippen, none of that exists in LeBron's DNA.
When I look at LeBron, he's not what Michael was as a player. He's not even what Kobe Bryant was as a player. When you talk about trying to compare Michael's instinct, his ability to take over games, his ability to want to have that last shot.
And demoralize you.
Yes.
And scare the living hell out of you.
LeBron doesn't have that gene.
Don't get it twisted. I love LeBron, but no.
He outright said LeBron didn't have that gene. And then Kevin Garnett told a story from the Celtics battles with LeBron's Cavaliers that drove the point even deeper. Boston never feared him. They never believed LeBron could take on all 5 of them and come out on top.
Nothing? Man, listen, let me say something to you. The C's, we didn't give a fuck about LeBron. We didn't fear LeBron, and we didn't think that he can beat all 5 of us. And that's how it felt. He was trying to consolidate because he didn't want the pressure on him.
The way Garnett saw it, LeBron tried to shift the pressure onto others because carrying all of it himself wasn't something he wanted. And then Magic Johnson recently made his stance loud and clear. He said he loves LeBron, but people shouldn't twist the conversation. Michael Jordan is the GOAT. One bitter former player could be dismissed easily. But when the greatest names in basketball history keep repeating the same thing, ignoring them becomes impossible. LeBron is incredible and absolutely belongs among the all-time greats. What these legends keep saying, though, is that he isn't Michael Jordan, and he doesn't have the element Jordan and Kobe carried inside them. When Shaq laid out his personal all-time rankings on Logan Paul's podcast in 2022, he put Jordan first and Kobe second. And these weren't the words of an outsider. They came from a 15-time All-Star who won 4 championships, 3 finals MVPs, and dominated one of the most physical eras the league has ever seen. Having played with both LeBron and Kobe gives Shaq a perspective almost nobody else has, and his conclusion hasn't shifted. That doesn't mean Shaq refuses to credit LeBron. He's challenged the killer instinct criticism by pointing out that nobody scores 38,000 points without a burning internal drive. He's praised LeBron as the greatest young leader he ever witnessed. This isn't about tearing him down, it's about separating being an all-time great from being the greatest ever. Because those are 2 very different categories. Top 3 status in basketball history belongs to LeBron, no question. His resume is legendary and his longevity defies what should be possible. But calling him the GOAT is a different discussion. The fear Jordan created simply doesn't exist with LeBron. The ruthless instinct that pushed Kobe to drop 81 isn't part of LeBron's identity. He launched the super team era by joining forces instead of beating rivals straight up. And much of his statistical dominance came in a softer, whistle-heavy era where offense exploded league-wide. When you compare psychological dominance, clutch authority, and sheer mentality, LeBron falls behind Jordan and Kobe every time. That isn't hate. It's the perspective of the people who understand greatness from the inside. What Shaq has been pointing out for more than a decade isn't that LeBron is overrated. The message is more subtle. Despite all the accolades and all the narratives, LeBron never had the one trait that separated Jordan and Kobe from everyone else. Being liked mattered more to him than being feared. And in a sport where legends are defined by how many opponents they mentally crushed before the game even began, that difference carries more weight than any scoring record ever will. The players who lived through those battles all keep saying the same thing, and maybe it's time people start listening. If this breakdown finally gave you clarity on the debate, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so you never miss the real conversations behind the game.